Someone asked me, this is a dinner chat, and he was asking where the restaurant. I didn't tell them the address of the restaurant. And I said, okay, I'm going to provide instructions for the food that we will eat during the time right now. So I'm sure you can see the very sumptuous dinner waiting for us. And the way that we are going to begin to eat this dinner is, first of all, to get to know the people around the dinner table. So I want every one of you, there's something you will do. First of all, for those of you who have device names like PC2 or Android 59 and something like that. So can you go ahead and just change the device name to your name so that I'll be able to tell exactly who is on the call and then to call you by name. And then if you can also put in brackets your company name, and then some of you are joining from outside of Nigeria, from different countries. You can also put your country name right there. So secondly, every one of you, please go to the chat right now and introduce yourselves, and then I can acknowledge you. So say your name, your company name, say what you do, what you do, what your business is into, and then tell us your country. Just tell us something about yourself. And so let's take the next couple of minutes to introduce ourselves. Because we have people from different places, different industries, and different backgrounds on the call tonight. And so let's get to know ourselves so we can interact better. And then I would also request that for those who, who can, if your bandwidth can permit, please put your camera on, turn your camera on if your bandwidth can permit. And because we are having dinner together, so it's wonderful to know who exactly is on the call. All right, so I see Uche Onwude of Core Limited, and Uche's company is into data provision to telecoms, banks, and value-added service providers. So introduce yourself in the chat, because I would also like, by the time we are done today, for some of you to connect and then give each other business. It's not unusual, during our programs, for people to connect with each other and then have some very good business. I can see Leko. Leko is from Law Pavilion. Okay, Law Pavilion, Leko, you're welcome. There is Modukwe Olua. Can I have my glasses? I think I'm straining my eyes a little bit. It's Modukwe. And Modukwe is from, and Antidukwe Dada. Okay, from Prominent Securities. Yeah, Auntie Dada, welcome. Good to have you here. There's Elo, Emelife. Elo, what company are you from? Is that Learnatis? Let me know. Okay, there is also Damilola from Law Pavilion. Okay, and then Damola from TK Tech Africa Limited, into blockchain technology and infrastructure. Okay, there's Femi, also from Law Pavilion, and Fumi is also from Law Pavilion. Oh, good. Law Pavilion is properly represented here. Ibuku also from Law Pavilion. Okay, you're all very welcome. All right, keep the introductions coming. And then when you talk about your company, please say what you do. Law Pavilion, Molly says you're the foremost provider of legal technology solutions in Nigeria and Africa. Awesome, great. Okay, keep the introductions coming. Charles Ozurumba is Chief Responsibility Officer of Fellows Agro Enterprise. It also helps me to know what you do, so that when I'm making the presentation, I can use practical examples from your industry and from your business. So that's very important. And then please feel free to note each other's businesses so you can connect. You can connect from here. Okay, thank you. So let's go straight into what we're going to do today. Okay, well, I see your hand up. All right, so it's okay. We can take it at this time. Okay, well, can you unmute yourself? Are you able to unmute yourself? Or host, can you unmute? Okay, well, your hand is up. Yeah. What are your comments? Your question? Okay, well, your hand is up. Or you can type in the chat. Type it in the chat, and then I'll read that out. Okay. So let me start with this comment that I make for all my clients. I truly believe this statement, that this is the best time to be alive. This is the best time to be alive. And I say that I am very, very privileged to have been born in this century. I would actually have been very disappointed, if I was born in 17th century or 20th or 19th century and miss the action that is in our world today. So I would like you to bear this in mind, because the mindset you bring to this year, the mindset you bring to this century, will go a long way determining the level of your results. And I have had this mindset, especially since the world declared a pandemic, since 2020. And I see, as I travel around the world, in the past couple of months, I've done quite some bit of traveling to different countries around Africa and then the United States. I traveled extensively in the United States. And so I see in many places, doom and gloom. I see small businesses filled with lots of anxiety. I see families, filled with lots of uncertainties about the future. But I really want to assure you that this is the best time to be alive, and that God didn't make a mistake bringing you here. So I want you to bear that in mind as we go through the chat that we're having this evening. And I want to say that it's actually a chat, so the focus is not going to be on the PowerPoint presentations that I'm going to be sharing with you, but I would encourage you to interact, do a lot of things on chat, ask questions, respond on chat, and then I'm going to read it, and then we talk through those. And I'm also going to try to limit my presentation to about 45 minutes to 60 minutes so that we can use the remaining time to do exercises, because I would like you to do this practically in your business, what I'm going to be sharing with you. Okay, so any comments or questions, so far? Any comments or questions so far? We have a couple more introductions, and I will encourage us to look at the introductions and know the people in the room. I see Ben Uchebo, who is a medical practitioner. There is Maurice. Maurice is a content producer. Okay, my company, Homeland Lenses. Okay, I was reading that and then it went off. Okay, so we have a content producer for Africa Magic and other TV and radio outfits here. At some point, I would also give time for you all to interact, because there's a lot of talent and a lot of solution providers, represented in the room here. All right, so the first thing that I want to declare to you, and that's going to set the foundation for all the things that we're going to chat about this evening, is that Your business is competing against noise. Your biggest challenge, the biggest challenge for your management team in your company and for you as a CEO or the business owner in this century and particularly this year is noise. And the companies that are going to succeed, you see, I work with many companies in different industries. I've had the privilege, to work with many Stanford seed companies, many companies out of Lagos Business School, and then also my private clients, from around the continent. And I guarantee that you will not read this in the textbook, but what I see traveling around the world is that the biggest challenge for growth for businesses today is noise. Your number one enemy is noise. And then your number one task as a business owner is to strategize against noise. And then, so I'm going to show you a few examples. So what you see here is real estate in Nigeria. I hope you can all see my slide very well. So this is just one page of the real estate ads in Nigeria. And then if you've ever tried to buy property, to buy a plot of land, say in Abuja, or say in Lagos, or say in Enugu, you know how challenging it is because you're going to see thousands of offers, thousands of real estate companies. And the interesting thing is, if you zoom in, all these ads basically say the same thing. All of them basically follow the same patterns. They say the same thing. And so for you as a customer, this is noise. This can be so confusing. And this is setting the background, for the process I'm going to lead you through this evening. And then what I want to challenge you, to do in your business. Because what I'm going to share with you is a very, very important secret or strategy to remaining profitable, to becoming profitable. I'm telling you, this is perhaps the most important key to becoming profitable in this year and in this century. There is too much noise in the marketplace. So much noise that your customers get confused. So much noise that it's difficult to know who is actually who and what is going on. And so you go to real estate, you find all this noise, all these ads, and then if you consider the number of advertisements that you are exposed to on a daily basis, when you go on LinkedIn, or you go on Instagram, or you go on Facebook, or you turn on the radio, the number of ads that you are exposed to on a daily basis is just incredible, just mind-boggling. And then what the human mind does in order to defend and to protect itself is to shut itself off against so much noise. When your brain looks at what you find on the screen here, you can see how confusing it is for your brain to process that. And then neurologists, neuroscientists tell us that the brain cannot work with more than 3 or 4 things at a time, in its random access memory. So you can imagine all these things being thrown at you every single day. So your company is competing against serious noise. And then it is the same thing in basically every industry. So if you come to secondary schools in Nigeria, for instance, this is one page of Google ads about the secondary schools. Again, when you look at them, you want to find a school for your child, for your daughter who is going from primary school to secondary school. The noise is extreme. The noise is too much. And then young parents here, our children have all gone to secondary school, and then young parents here, you know how challenging it is to find schools. it's same thing if you're trying to find kindergarten or you're trying to find primary school for your children. The noise is so much. In our estate alone, where we stay, there are so many, and along Ogudu Road, there are just so many, schools, noise, and the customer is constantly wondering which one, do I select. So when you zoom in again, you find that these people advertise in the same way. If you look at the real estate ads, if you just look at all the ads, the way people in real estate and then the real estate developers advertise, if you pick up all their flyers, you're seeing essentially the same thing, the same way that they all advertise. Okay, so you're competing against noise. And it does not matter whether you're in agriculture or you are in the FMCG or you are in IT. In fact, sometimes, IT seems to be like, just really so much noise. Almost everybody is a web developer, or almost everybody is building websites for you. Almost everybody, people are offering this same thing, so it's difficult. There used to be a proverb in those days in my village, that the mechanics wouldn't let us know who the mad people are, because in the village, and I think up till now, the mechanics still dress. I'm not sure why they must dress the way they do and why they believe that their coverall must be dirty and all that. So because there's just so much noise, it's difficult to tell who actually provides value and then who doesn't. Same thing in education, in insurance, in healthcare. Healthcare providers basically say exactly the same thing in their ads, and and they're all fishing in the same pool. Okay, so there's noise, too much noise, and therefore the key to profitability, because we're talking about profitability, the key to profitability is creating strategy against noise. If you come, Nkiru is here, she's a music artist, and so if you come to the music industry, almost every Nigerian household has a rapper, has a musician, has a young person, who is producing music, writing music, and then out there producing, So there's just so much noise everywhere. And so the key to profitability is, how do you deal with noise? How do you stand out? How do you stand out, in the top of mind of the market? How do you stand out, from all this noise? Because until you do, you will get exactly the same kind of treatment, that other people get, people short of noise, and then it affects your bottom line. And so before I begin to talk about the specific formula for competing against noise and becoming very, very profitable in your industry, I want to talk about this VCP process. Now, I didn't create this process. It was created by Ivan Misner. I learned it from him. The first time must have been like around the mid-2000s or so. And then the reason I bring this up is also to let you know that one important strategy concerning dealing with noise in the marketplace is credibility. A couple of days ago, a gentleman called me. He is into Forex, and then because he heard that we are running our annual leaders retreat this Saturday, he said, he wants to be part of it, so that he can tell people about making money in Forex trading and all that. I mean, he's been reaching out in different ways. And so what I did was, I asked him, I said, okay, I want you to be very honest with me, be very truthful with me. Do you actually make money yourself? Do you actually make money yourself in Forex? And I said, be honest with me. And then he started stuttering, because obviously the answer was no. He started stuttering. Well, I don't make money where the people who use the system that I'm selling actually make money. And I said, look, the reason I'm telling you this thing is that before now, in the country, lots of people have come up with, we're trading Forex, trading stocks, or Bitcoins or something and all that. And then these people are not succeeding. They're not making money through Forex. But all the money that they're making is, through the handouts that they're selling, through their radio programs. They go on radio, they talk about Forex, become a millionaire. And then they become millionaires from selling handouts to people who attend their events. But they never trade and they never make money. And so credibility is such a scarce commodity in the business world today. But credibility sells all the time. Credibility is the key to sustaining profits. Credibility is the key to repeatability in business. Because one of the things that you really, really want to strategize for this year in your business is repeatability. How do you get reorder? Because the time you know that you have a business is where clients, come to you again and again to order your service. Because if you're only offering one-time transactions, then you're not really in a very good business. But when you've created a business that people, see you as credible, as trustworthy enough to continue to come to you for services, then you know that you have a business. So the VCP process is basically visibility. So if you have something of value, you've got to be visible. You've got to be visible. One of the things and then secrets I want to tell you about my consulting business that's really worked very well is that, like many of you, here know, I publish content crazily. I publish content every day. And it is really, really important. And it has amazed me the number of people around the world, who consume my content, who watch my video, who come to my WhatsApp status on a daily basis, who go to my Instagram page and all that. Because I put out content every single day. Content, that is of value to the marketplace that I'm speaking. And so visibility is important, because if people don't know you and they don't know the value, you are not communicating the value that you represent, the profitability will not come, somewhere down the line. So visibility is critical. And you need to sit down with your management team in your business and actually craft your visibility strategy. And when you are crafting your visibility strategy, because for many of you that would involve some kind of social media strategy, you want to be very deliberate and intentional about your social media strategy, because visibility does not mean that you just go out there and start pushing out anything that you want. But you really want to plan your content in such a way that it aligns with the value that you provide in the marketplace. Now, the other thing is, what do you measure? For instance, how do you measure, success, your social media success? Because what you measure affects the things you optimize for. Okay, so if, for instance, your social media strategy is basically, okay, I want more fans, I want more likes, people to like my content and things like that. That's what we call vanity metrics. Vanity metrics. Okay, so I have a friend, who would come to me. Sometimes he makes a post, and then there are 2 million views. And then he takes a screenshot and then sends to me, 2 million people, have looked at my post and things like that. But so there are people who have 5 million, 10 million views, but they are broke. And would you rather have 50 people, in your social media network,
And then out of these 50 people, you actually have some very, very solid, 10 solid clients, who do serious business with you and, who do serious business with you in the year. Or you have 5 million followers and then you're broke. And there's so many people like that. And so if your visibility strategy is focused on generating likes and, just generating fans, then it's going to affect the quality of content that you put out there. Because now when I looked at what this gentleman, used to get his 2 million views from, if I post the same things, I'm going to get like 20 million views. Because, he will post, pictures of some really very beautiful, good-looking women and all that, And so I can post pictures of good-looking women. I have a lot of good-looking women around me. Starting with my wife. So I can post her pictures every day and generate 2 million views. But like they will say, the social media handle in those days, they say, who like app? Who did, all these fans and all this help. So visibility is important, but you've got to plan your visibility strategy, very carefully. Now, the second thing is credibility, which I've already talked about. You must be very credible in the value that you're communicating. You're making, you're producing fruit juices, for people, and you say there is no sugar, there is no preservative, there is no coloring or something, but there is sugar, there are colorings, there's preservative in it. And then people are drinking, trusting what you produced, and they're getting sick, and they don't know where the sickness is coming from. So credibility is important, and credibility is such a big problem. It's part of the noise that I was talking about in the marketplace. You see it among market women. You don't even know which palm oil, ordinary palm oil, is authentic, is correct palm oil, and then the one that they added dyes in it to make it look more red and things like that. And it's all over the place. Products in different, just what people are eating, what people are wearing. So people advertise falsely. People advertise falsely. And because of it, it keeps reducing credibility, in the marketplace. So you want to be very, very strategic about credibility. And then in your internal processes, you're credible. Because if your staff know that you're not credible, very soon it's going to leak out into the marketplace. So now, with visibility of the value that you create and deliver in the marketplace, and then with credibility, your profitability will be assured. And then again, let me add patience. Okay? Let me add patience. Patience is a strategy. Ladies and gentlemen, there have been times that I put out a service out there, a program out there, and then hundreds of people respond and it's so successful. There are other times I put up, a program. I remember the time I advertised the program. I advertised it on radio, on television for about 3 months. At the end of it, only 6 people, showed up. I remember also doing a program like that, and then only one person registered and showed up. It's real. But then I didn't stop just because of that, but I had to ask, what's working? Why is this and all that? So over the years, I've gotten better. But there's got to be patience and persistence as a part of your company strategy. Okay, so the formula that I want to share with you for competing against noise, standing out, and then being profitable has 4 steps, if you like. So the first one is you first of all, and then I'm assuming that you've actually understood that thing that the customer wants, what the customer really, really wants, not what you think that the customer wants. And I'm going to talk a little bit about that, somewhere down the line. How do you develop a product or a service that the customer can't live without? And that's the kind of product that you actually want, or service you want to develop for your marketplace. Because if the marketplace, if the customer can do without your product, they will do without your product. If they can find alternatives, to surviving and not spending money on your product or service, they will definitely go for that alternative. So having discovered that value, the first thing you want to, of course, so you understand where your client is right now is a place of pain. So he's on position A place of pain, a place of frustration. And then you need to move that customer from a place of frustration to a place of transformation. So you've got to, first of all, define what that transformation is. And I'm going to give you an example, just after this. What that transformation is. What is this customer going to become as a result of interacting with your product or with your service? So if I'm consulting, what is this company going to become as a result of this consulting program, this program I'm running with them? It's got to be very, very clear in my mind, because if it's not clear in your mind, it's going to be very difficult to communicate it and then to sell it, to the customer. The second step in this formula is to reverse engineer this outcome. In other words, this is the transformation. This is the state that my customer is going to be in as a result of using this product. For instance, the customer's revenue would go from X to 2X in 1 year. Okay. Then I now reverse engineer the process. Okay, so from where the customer is today, what 4 steps, not more than 3 or 4 steps, processes, which can of course have sub-processes, can this customer take to go from where he is, or where he is right now, where this company is right now, to where they make 2x in their revenue in 1 year? They will need to do step 1, step 2, step 3. And why this is critical is that is the secret of your marketing. That's actually, you should be marketing these steps, these processes. Because often the customer does not buy because they don't see the connection between your product or your service and that desired transformation, that desired future that they want. And that's actually what this step 2 will do. So, and it also convinces the customer that you know what you're talking about, because you have demonstrated how you're going to take him from point A to point Z, where they're going to have 2x revenue. Then this step 3 is so powerful, so critical, but a lot of people miss it. And then when you miss it, you become a part of the noise in the marketplace. You've got to give this property a unique name. I'm not too good in the music industry in Nigeria, but some of you, who are there, you know that some people have come up with certain dances, and then they give dances some names. I don't know if you can type in the chat some of them. I think there was one, I'm old school. There was one they called Azonto, some years back. Azonto, there are all kinds of names, and then these things are very, very specific and very unique to particular. Then I think there's a song that came out of South Africa a couple of months ago. They called Jerusalem. And is it Jerusalem or something like that? And so there's a particular dance step associated with it. And then I was surprised because when I got to the village, last month, the children were dancing Jerusalem, and they were teaching me the steps. Yes, I can see. Jerusalem. Yeah, and then there's Ruth says Kelewu. These things, you can't forget them. And then once he says Kelewu, even though it may have trended many years ago, it brings back all those memories and all those things and all that. It's the same thing, with fast moving consumer goods. So there's Maggi, there's just Maggi, there's Panadol, and there's just Panadol. There's nothing you can do, to just change that. So names are so important, and then unique names that when you own this name, it is so powerful because so money is in the unique name. Your revenue is hidden in that unique name. So when you've created this process and you've defined this transformation, give it a unique name. It becomes a property. Okay? Then, of course, put it out there, in the marketplace. Test, refine it, refine it, and until it becomes, until it begins to literally sell itself. And then if you look at, some real-world examples, like this gentleman, he's late now, called Stephen Covey. Once you say 7 habits, he just, that thing had been there all along. But he developed a system out of it and then called it a name, called it 7 habits. And there are so many examples if you look around you. So anytime you see 7 habits, you think about Stephen Covey. And then it's the same product, 7 habits for teens, 7 habits for highly effective professionals, 7 habits that, 7 habits that. Very unique name. And so if you go to do anything, 7 habits now, nobody's recognizing that. They will, once you say 7 habits, everybody thinks about Stephen Covey. Same thing with Robert Kiyosaki. He created his own system. He called it a rich dad system. And so any time, anywhere in the world that you mention rich dad, you think about this guy. Can you type in the chat? If you have an example of what I'm talking about? Some of these unique names and unique properties. There are so many of them all around us. Even telecommunications companies in Nigeria, they have some products that are very unique, some banks and things like that. So can you type in the chat if you think about a product or a service that has a unique name, like that. Okay. All right. So, hello. Okay. Hey, hello. You're welcome. Hi, Gloria. I'm looking for. Okay. So there's Maggi. There's Coca-Cola, of course. There's just Coca-Cola. Anywhere you say Coca-Cola, that's just that's just what it is. Okay. There is Indomie. Okay. They called it Indomie. Okay. There's Toyota. In fact, the auto manufacturers do that very well. Yeah, there's Biggie. All right, auto manufacturers do that very well. They just name their products, and you just think about Corolla. The image comes, with all the feelings and all the brand feelings and all that. Close up, McLean, and all that. So these are usable products. So in the same way, you also have the same things for services. Okay, thank you very much for that. So let me give you some examples. Personal examples and how it worked, and then shortly after that we can go into a period of doing exercises and also trying it out for you. How many of us have heard about escape revenue? All right, so this is actually putting into practice what I'm telling you, what I have done. So I created escape revenue, and then the background for escape revenue was that I discovered that, in my years of consulting, that companies struggle with revenue. And that at the same time, if you don't create revenue in the organization, nothing happens. I just found that nothing happens, until a company sells. Okay? So you look at revenue, it affects the impact that your organization wants to do. I worked with a company. I facilitated a retreat, 2 days ago with a company. And then part of their impact, is reaching out to secondary schools and also reaching out to artisans and training them. Now, if you don't have the revenue to back up that, you won't be able to do that. Of course, revenue directly affects cash flow, shareholders, firm value, and all that. And so And because companies struggle with revenue, I found out that there's so many revenue leak points in organizations that many times that they ignore. They are bleeding revenue and they don't know where it's coming from. So I created the escape revenue also. Part of what the escape revenue system addresses is the fact that before you leave one stage of growth as a company to the next stage of growth, even way up to when you become a unicorn, there are revenues you must attain to be able to leave one layer, one level. And I found that company revenues seem to grow around bands of there's a $100,000 target, milestone. There is a $500,000 milestone. There's a 1 million. There is a 2 million. There is a 5 million, 10 million boundary. And then from 10 million boundary, it begins to really go up, to different, So these are escape revenues, just like before a rocket leaves the Earth's atmosphere, it must attain a certain velocity called escape velocity. So I found that it's the same thing with organizations, that you need a certain revenue to escape a certain boundary. So if you found yourself, stagnating around, when I look at some financial statements, people have a couple of years, maybe they hit like this revenue milestone of like $2 million. And then since after that, they've never crossed that, revenues go down. So I created this to address this challenge. Now, and I developed this system. Now, I developed it, I called it a name. And this, basically, what you see here is the foundation of all my consulting and all my work with organizations. So no matter what a company tells me to do for them, come and lead retreat for us, come and run revenue hackathon for us, and things like that, everything is covered here. So at the basis is leadership. Leadership controls everything. And then you can't generate revenue until you make sales. You can't make a sale until you have the customer. Okay? And then you can't have cash flow if you don't have the revenue to support it. And you can't fulfill your mission as an organization if you don't have that. So you see how this helps me. So this is a system that I've created and I've called it a name. Now I've extended it in another way. Some of you here may have attended the Revenue Hackathon, which we did. The last Revenue Hackathon we did was just before the pandemic, at a hotel in 2020, January 2020, I believe it was. And then since then, we've run it, for one or two other companies, who say, come and run Revenue Hackathon, for us. And you see, I create this thing, I named it. So anywhere in the world, if you go online and type that Revenue Hackathon, it's tied to my name. It's my property, and it's extremely profitable because it's a system, okay? And then, like I told you about developing a process. So our Revenue Hackathon has a process, and you can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So when I run Revenue Hackathon for an organization, we are looking at the whole revenue value chain, if you like. How does this company create value? How do they deliver it to customers? How do they capture value in terms of payments? And then, so it's a hackathon. You spend the whole day, and all we are working on is just the revenue. What would it take to 10x your revenue? Why are you not selling? What are the barriers to selling in your organizations? And all that. So it's a system. And so when an organization calls me, I do not begin to scramble, to do whatever. It's very specific. And this is my property. And I tell you, this property has been very, very profitable. This property has generated millions of naira for my organization. I created another one called Strategy and Culture Retreat because I discovered that like Peter Drucker, the management wizard, said that culture eats strategy for breakfast. I discovered in working with many organizations that, look, I could easily teach people strategy. I could teach marketing. I could teach digital marketing, like I do in Lagos Business School. I do all that, so easily. But the problem is, if the people in your organization are not in the position, either they are not capable or motivated to, or they don't have a sense of ownership enough to execute on that strategy, it doesn't happen. And I also discovered that most business problems are actually people problems, disguising as business problems. And so often, organizations are investing a lot of money trying to solve business problems when they should actually be working on their people. Because if you get your people right, strategy becomes very easy. So I created this property. It's a system of, so when I come, we do it half a day. We do it also for a weekend, and we also do it for one day, depending on the needs of that organization and where they are. And then you can see that it also has a process. Remember the formula I told you? There is the transformation, and then you reverse engineer the process, you give it a unique name, and then you sell it, you market it. You market it like crazy, because it won't sell itself. So, and the first part is when we come for the strategy and culture retreat, we look at the base diagnostics. We look at the pre-mortem. We look at what are the culture issues in your organization. Because you see, by the time we finish working on these diagnostics, it becomes very clear to everybody in the management, to the CEO and the management team, the kind of problems you should be focusing on. Many companies are solving the wrong problem. And they wonder why they're not profitable or why they are struggling. You must solve the right problems. And then the second part of this retreat agenda is managing yourself. Because if you can't manage yourself as a leader in the company, you're not going to be able to manage others. Okay? Paul was writing to one of his protege about people taking office in churches. And he said, look, it's a good thing if people want to be a bishop or they want to be a deacon or something. He said, but whoever wants to step into that office must run his own family well. He said, if you can't run your own family well, how are you going to run a church? And it's the same thing. So we have people who are local government chairman, senator, governor. They can't even manage themselves. And then they are trying to manage others. And it doesn't work that way. You cannot give as a leader what you don't have. So we spend some time, doing a lot of people work in that area. And then from there, we now talk to the management team about how do you manage others? How do you coach other people to help bring out the best in them? And then finally, we'll talk about delivering results, because at the end of it, you should be able to deliver results. How do you set up your organization to be an execution-oriented organization, to have a strong bias for action and not producing complaints? So you can see that whole process I gave you and the formula. So first of all, you define the transformation, you create a process, you give it a unique name that is uniquely yours. And then you now test it out there in the marketplace. Test it. Actually, these are our strategy and culture retreat. We started it since 2018, but we've been testing it and then refining it with organizations. And then we have requests, from different countries. We have a request from Angola, from a company in Angola, a company that has branch is based in Angola and has a branch in Uganda, for exactly this. We ran this last year in November. We ran it in Zanzibar, in Tanzania. We're running this, several times. Many companies were running this for between now and then the end of February. So it's a property, it's a system, and it belongs to us. So anywhere you say strategy and culture retreat, it's us. It's our property. Okay. So you see how this takes us away from the noise. Because if in this country, within the circles, certain business circles right now, if you ask what name, we want to do a retreat, a corporate retreat, what name can you give us? What facilitator, whose facilitator can do that? By the time you've mentioned 3 names, mine is coming there. And so this is how we separate ourselves, from the noise. And that is also making us more profitable. Okay. Now, just one more idea, and then we can now go into exercises. How do we practice this? How do we implement this in your own business? How do you uncover what customers want? It's not something we can do justice to, within the time we have. But the comment I just want to make is that often we're designing for problems that the customer doesn't have. The only credible way to find out the kind of product or service that a customer cannot do without is from the customer's head, themselves. Okay? It's from the customer's head themselves. Because sometimes they can't even tell you, they can't even express very, very clearly what it is that they want. But there are ways to find it. So if there's a concept called jobs to be done. In other words, you look at your product or your service as your service as an employee, okay? And then you say, okay, if this is an employee, what work is he going to do? What work is this product going to do in this customer's life? Okay, so you look at your product or your service as something that as a tool, as something that actually helps a customer to achieve some specific task. Okay, you're looking at if the customer hires your product, what would they hire your product, to do for him? That's important. So if I'm hiring this bottle of water, for instance, along the road, in Lagos traffic, and I feel thirsty, so I probably hire this water to satisfy my thirst. But if I go to have a meeting, and I might hire this water for is it 50 naira or 100 naira that they sell that? And then if I now go to a co-hotel, this water that I hired for 50 naira in traffic, I probably will hire it for 1,000 naira. Why? Because it's actually doing a different job in Sheraton than it is along the road. So you've got to uncover what that job to be done is for your product or for your service. Then another thing is to get into the conversation that is already going on in the head of your customer. And how do you do that? Lots of observation, and then there's a process in design thinking that we call, empathy work. Just trying to kind of put yourself in the shoes, doing some kind of vicarious work. Because many times what we think the customer wants is not what they want. And then another practical way is to see where the customer already spends money, how the customer spends their money. And then you can design, from there, because people spend money on what they value. And so you need to uncover that value, they are spending money, and see how you can offer a product. Okay? And the question you want to keep in your mind is, how might I help my customer to achieve their dream? And so you are going from customer satisfaction to customer success. They are two different things. And then the money is in customer success, not in customer satisfaction. Everybody is doing customer satisfaction, talking about customer satisfaction. That's part of the noise. But then customer success says, how can we enable the customer to succeed with our product, our service? So you remember that transformation that the customer wants that made him or her come for your product or service. Okay? So you are asking, So if you're leading, there's prominent securities here, that helps people to manage wealth. So when a professional comes to you because they want to manage their wealth, or they want to be able to, he says, okay, the job to be done for this person might be, okay, look, when I die, I don't want my family to, suffer. I don't want my children's education to go down. I don't want my family to be pursued out of the rented house and things like that. So I come to you, and so you do stocks investment. So I'm not coming for stocks. I'm coming for that transformation. That's what is actually in my mind. I'm looking at, okay, if I die, I want my family to be secure. And so that's very important. So that when you are dealing with the customer, you are not just picking stocks or helping him pick profitable stocks, but you are actually looking at how do I help to address the concerns of the afterlife, for this gentleman. So that's a key question to put in mind. Okay. Yes, I see some more examples. Somebody put here. Okay, XXXXS for dummies. That's a very good one. The power of a praying woman. That's a very good one. I think TDJX also has a property that he calls woman, thou art loosed. That's a very important property. Yeah, these are very good examples. So this was in San Diego, and one of the people, because I think my biggest investment, my biggest spend every year is on coaching. I spend thousands of dollars on coaching, and I'm sure if you are close to me, you see that it works. I spend thousands of dollars on coaching. And then Lisa, this was in San Diego. I attended her event. She's called the Queen of Sales Conversion or something like that, if you check her online. And then she has this very powerful quote, sell the destination, not the plane. So we're talking about step 4, when you've tested and refined your property and, you're selling it. So you're selling the destination, not the plane, So if you're like a travel agency, and then people want to go on vacation to Barbados, or they want to go on vacation to all these popular places, Mauritius or something. You're selling the Mauritius. Usually you don't see a travel agent advertising Boeing 707 that will take you to Mauritius. No, they advertise that resort. They advertise those beautiful beaches and natural environment. That's what they advertise, not the plane. So the same thing, a lot of people in selling, I look at setting ads and marketing people do online, and they're busy selling the plane and not the destination. People are not buying plane, they're buying that vacation. How do you identify, the what you call the hot versus the hate button? Because these are the things that will help you to develop your property. Okay, so you need to identify the biggest pain that the customer has. We were talking about how do you develop a very profitable product or service, and then you're also asking what is the biggest offer, a compelling solution to this pain. And there are many ways you can discover the pain. Okay, if you're in the hospitality industry, for instance, so if you go to Expedia or you go to TripAdvisor or you go to different places, you can see all the reviews and see what people really hate, where they are giving 1 star, and then where people are giving 5 star. This can give you ideas about the things, to put what people care about, so that when you're designing your offer or your irresistible product or service, you can incorporate that. So it's easy to find out what your customers hate. And then sometimes, like in Nigeria, you go to Naira Land and different fora like that, and then Twitter, okay, because I think Nigerians are quite active on Twitter, I discovered. I understand that Twitter has just been unbanned in Nigeria. So sometimes, when I'm outside the country, when I could access Twitter, because I wasn't doing this VPN thing, I will look at the trend, what is trending. And it is usually very, very interesting. So, and I also set my Google Trends to mail me on a daily basis what are the hot conversations in Nigeria. So from this, you can actually discover the hot hit buttons, of and around your product. Okay, we might not be able to do this exercise now, but there's one I would like us to do. So now, before we go into the exercises, I want to stop sharing and then take some questions. And then from there, we will attempt some very basic exercise to help position you for creating your own irresistible property. All right, so questions you can type in the chat, or you can raise your hand and then we unmute you. Host, can people unmute themselves, or do you have to unmute them? Can you find out? She has to unmute them. All right, okay. So any questions, just raise your hands digitally and then we can unmute you to make your comment. Okay, so JJ's hand is up. Can you unmute JJ, please? And then after that, is there any other hand up? Okay. JJ, you're muted.
Good evening, sir. Good evening, everybody.
Yeah.
It's a pleasure of being here. Thank you so much, sir, for today's enlightening session with you. Mm-hmm. My question is this. In trying to create, in breaking out from the sales funnel and trying to create a sales persona, that is what our customers really want. The need for a psychological or something like when you say culture, it's strategy for breakfast. How do we really mix culture with buyer personnel in sales? Because what sells, some products that sell here in the South are culturally biased to the North, but they actually make more profit in the North than here in the South. I'll give an instance. Mm-hmm. A product like insurance, when you are selling insurance policies, for instance, you see that the southern part of Nigeria, they are kind of like skeptical. But for the educated northern elite, they buy it as if they are buying tom-tom. Let me use that word, you know. So how do we renegotiate, or how do we realign buyer perception to truly culturally realign the buyer's persona here in the South, for instance?
Mm-hmm. That's a very good question that you've asked, and there's no easy formula, simple formula to do that. But there are processes that you use to uncover exactly what works, when it comes to product design. And then many times it is just making a very bold guess and then studying how the market responds to it. For instance, the insight that you just gave regarding insurance, you never would have known if you didn't put it out there in the North and in the South. So now you know, even by hindsight, that you can also project, in developing your product. So many times with products, you have processes like design thinking, which is beyond the scope of this meeting. Design thinking has specific steps and methodologies to allow you to uncover. You mentioned psychology, you mentioned the thinking, you mentioned the way of life, of the buyer, of that customer segment. And so design thinking allows you to actually uncover that. And then sometimes part of design thinking actually, the empathy part is where you do the empathy interviews, the certain kinds of interviewing that you can do to find out some of those hidden things, that the customer ordinarily would not tell you, and you make notes of that. Sometimes it involves actually going there and doing what we call body storming. Body storming. So let's say you're designing a playground for children in kindergarten or in primary school. So you actually go there and you develop that infrastructure, that playground infrastructure, and then body storm around it, and then feel, okay, oh, this place is rough, this place gives me a bump, and things like that. So there are those processes. They take time, they take a lot of research, they take a lot of observation, but it's usually worth it. And then these companies like Apple, Google, HP, Amazon, they all go through this process. But the thing is, we don't hear about the products that failed. But for every iPhone that succeeded, there are probably some 20, 30 products, similar products that you never heard about, that never made it out there. So it's a combination of using these established processes, like design thinking for product design, and making bold guesses, and also just putting it out there and let the marketplace, give you the feedback that you need to redefine the product. So that's a very good question. I hope that helped. Any other hand up? Any other question? Okay, so while we're waiting for that, let's do a very simple, just very simple exercise around the question that JJ just asked. Charles' hand is up. So while we take Charles' question, let me put that slide for that exercise. So please, can you unmute Charles to ask his question? Go ahead, Charles.
All right. Thank you so much, sir, for the class, for the teaching. My question borders on two things. First is on the reverse engineering. I didn't get that quite well. Mm-hmm. I want to know that, does it mean like, let's say you've taken a customer, like he has, like mine is palm oil now. Mm-hmm. Let's say he has bought palm oil from me also before. Does it mean that we are taking him to the person to buy more? I didn't quite get that reverse engineering side. Well,
okay.
Then secondly, please, with regards to ours, which is palm oil still, I've tried to get to go and to know what exactly our customers want. Mm-hmm. We've used ask them on Facebook, what exactly do you want? How can we be better? What do you see that you don't like? And the questions the answers we've gotten, they have not helped us so well. So I don't know if there are practical examples that you could give us. Okay. Thank you so much, sir.
Okay, very good. And I think that a framework that can help much better than some of those user questionnaires, many of those user questionnaires, just like you've said, are not very helpful, at all. And then sometimes, Facebook might not really be like the best place to get that kind of insight. Because, your goal is actually, when you're developing a product, your number one task is to generate insight. To generate insight, around that customer's whole situation, and not just in relationship to your specific product, like say palm oil, but beyond palm oil, because you might think that the customer is buying palm oil to use for cooking their beans or their soup or something. But there might be something beyond why the person is actually using palm oil, something relating to some family tradition or some culture or some beliefs or something. And so you really want to find out, what beliefs are driving the use of my product. You see, I did a design thinking project in class, for an LBS MBA class. And in that design thinking exercise, we were trying to find out, why people go shopping. Okay, so we assumed that somebody wanted to build a shop, a shopping center or like a grocery store. And so, of course, I paired them up to interview each other, through what we call the empathy interview, basically to generate the insight that will allow you to brainstorm the kind of product or service that you want to develop. Because a lot of people just make assumptions and then begin to develop products and services only to find out that people never need it. And that affects profitability. So one of the insights that was generated from that was, because you think that people just go into shop to buy things. So, but this particular pair, so one of them was a middle-aged woman, big professional. She was single, not married. And it turned out that the reason she goes to store, she goes to a shop, when she closes from her office in Victoria Island, is there is nobody to talk to at home. She stays alone, back home. So she goes there to while away time, just walk the mall, sit down a little bit somewhere, maybe take a drink, and then she hangs on there until the store is closing. So now when you are designing for that kind of person, you probably think, assume, yeah, she's coming to buy. But she was not going to buy something. She was going to spend time where she could see human beings, interact with people, walk the mall before she goes back home. And so if I want to extract value, from that kind of customer, from that buyer persona, and I'm designing a store, I'm going to design a section, a comfy section, for this big executive. And then I'll probably do things like, fruit juice. Maybe coffee is not a good idea for that time of the night and things like that. Something that somebody relaxing, can actually buy. So you see, that insight affects the way I build my product and my service. So your major asset in developing a product, whether it is palm oil or is a consulting service or is an IT service, your major asset, where the money actually begins, for your revenue, is the insight that you are going to brainstorm around to create your. So it might turn out that people are using your palm oil for a different purpose, which you never know. In fact, one of my clients, she does dried fruits and nuts, packages dried fruit and nuts, really, like one of the best here in Nigeria. And a couple of years ago, she discovered, that people would buy her dried fruits and her dried fruits and nuts. So she usually will have like mangoes, pineapples. I think there's coconut and all this dried mixed fruit, okay, cashew and all that. Then they will buy breakfast cereal, and then in the morning when they're taking their breakfast, they put the cereal in the bowl, and then they pour her nuts and dried fruits inside the breakfast. That's an insight, because when she was developing her product, she never knew that people would ever use it that way. So sometimes you get some very incredible insight, deep insight from how people are even using your product, right now. So, and it's called, hacking, like product hack. People hack, like in the village, when you want to pluck a ripe mango. You know, you are not tall enough to reach out and then pluck it. So what do? You get a long stick and then you put something at the end and tie it and then use it. That's a hack. You know, or you want to, a little child wants to reach out to the top of a library to pick up a book, and then she brings this battery is dying. So, and then she brings a chair and climbs on top of it, you know, to be able to reach out, you know, to that. So that can give you insight as to what you can add and how you can make your product, you know, better. So I hope that helps. I think it's beyond the scope of this, you know, but you need to find out what beliefs, you know, and then watch people use your product. You might be very, very surprised. Let me tell one last story, and then we can go to another question. So I was in a room with entrepreneurs, and then we were talking about, you know, customer segments and then the needs of the customers. And so one of the ladies in the room, she made peanuts. You know, she fried and packaged peanuts. So I asked her, who are your customers? Because the most important thing in designing a product or service is actually understanding exactly who you are designing for. That's a big mistake that people begin to make. You know, you ask them, okay, who is your customer? You say, oh, everybody. You know, she said, oh, everybody eats groundnut. I said, really? Everybody eats groundnut? So I asked in the room, how many people here don't eat groundnut? Some hands went up. They said, we don't eat groundnut because it gives us pimples and we react to it. I said, okay. So you know that everybody doesn't eat groundnut. So when I said in the same room, okay, how many of you buy groundnuts, but you never buy it in a nylon, tied in nylon, you only buy it stored in bottles? And hands went up. Anyway, to cut the story short, there were those who bought bottles, but never bought the nylon. There were those, among those who bought bottles, there were those, you know, who will uncork the groundnut and pour it in their hands and then eat. And then there were those who will never pour it in their hands. They will always look for serviette or look for saucer to put it there. These are different segments, different people. And so you assume, okay, everybody. So even among those who eat groundnuts, you can still find like 15 or 20 different segments. For instance, those guys who never pour it in their hands, they always use serviette. So if I'm packaging for them, if I'm designing for them, I can design the bottle and I can put serviette, tie serviette or something very neatly around it, and it becomes a value proposition. And so instead of them buying it 800 naira, these people don't mind buying it 1,000 because I've added value, you know, for them by putting the serviette to match the way they use the product. So you can design based on how people use your palm oil. You can design based on how people actually use it. Even when you sit down and watch the women cook, you know, maybe some people pour in a spoon before putting it inside the soup. Some people just carry it, and all those behaviors, they mean a lot, you know, for a designer. And so those are the kind of things that you, but I know that the scope for this conversation is, you know, a bit larger. All right. We have, you know, barely 9 minutes. This is a very short exercise I want everybody to do here. Just attempt it. Just very short exercise to get our brains working around this direction. So I want you all to please type in the chat, you know, this exercise. Okay, so I want you to think about the people you create value for, the customer you serve, and just write this format: I help X to achieve Y or to get Y. Let me put get here. Okay, so X being your specific customers. So that format. So type in the chat, I help X to get Y. So let me take a look at the chat and just see a few examples. So your X might be, for instance, pregnant women. So I help pregnant women to get the clothes for the first 3 months, you know, 3 months of their babies. I help kindergarten children to do this. I help old people, old women with high blood pressure to get this or to become this. So let's get some examples. So just for testing. Okay, so go ahead and type in the chat. Don't worry, don't let it be perfect. Just, okay, I help pregnant women to have the best experience in childbirth. Okay, very good. I help lawyers to get quick access to law report. Excellent. That's a good starting place, okay? I help owners in Stanford to get connected globally and locally. Excellent. Okay, so that's from early. Keep it coming, keep it coming. Do this exercise, it's very helpful. It just gets your creative juices flowing. Okay, and then there were some other charts before, okay, before here. We help business get nutritive, healthy agro products. Okay. Okay, we help business get... Okon, can you express that a little bit more? Who exactly do you help? And then what do you mean by business get nutritive? And okay, so I help lawyers in corporation to organize all the information. And fantastic. So it's just very specific. You begin to find the root of jobs to be done. Ruth says I help busy professionals to get competent and trustworthy domestic employees to employ. So that's very, very specific. I like that one. I help engineers to light up their buildings. That's also very, very specific. I help sell insurance policy solutions to uninsured persons. Okay, I like that. So, even the uninsured persons, you can be very, very specific about those uninsured persons. I like that does, I help engineers to light up their building projects. Very, very specific. So the people you are helping, very specific engineers, and then their building projects. I help health conscious people with 100% pure palm oil with rich natural taste to do what? Okay, so it's always important, to what is the transformation? What do they become as a result of using your product? It's always important. I help the brokenhearted get joy through my music. Fantastic. I like that. So joy is the product. You see, why this exercise is very important is that you begin to see where you can now create your unique, because you've got to understand what is a unique value that you bring to the marketplace. And then you take that unique value, like Bimbo says joy. How can you create, something around joy, a unique property, a unique thing that you call, is joy that you bring. But, when people say it, you call it a name. And, that people know that once they see that name, they know that's what they're getting from your music. Okay? I help sick people get well. Okay? That's very good. Sick people get well. Okay? Okay, I help health-conscious people with 100% palm oil with rich natural taste for good health and bliss. Okay, I help wedding planning execute their plans pretty well with cocktails and small chops being served in the wedding. You guys are really wonderful. I think you've gotten the hang, of where I'm going. So this why, this X and Y, very, very critical. So important to define them, because this is going to affect everything you do, including your marketing, okay, including your content strategy. So for me, my X are business owners. So if you look at all my posts on LinkedIn, Instagram, everywhere, is all on business owners. So, and you focus on the people you help. Don't bother about other people. Everybody will not be your client. And then not everybody can afford your product and services, and it's okay. Don't start trying to bring in, more or different segments just because people can't afford it. So be the hero for the people that you are called to. Okay, so the final 3 minutes, I want to tell us about the annual retreat. that we usually have this face-to-face, but we didn't have it last year, obviously because of the pandemic and all the things around it. And then this year, we are making a transition, and then we are having it virtually. And it's just coming up in a couple of hours on Saturday. And so if you haven't registered for that program, I would strongly encourage you. I think we're going to have more time to do exercises and then to look at your company and all that. And I'm almost tempted to do something for people on this call. So what I will do right now, I'm going to put the link for registration. And I'm going to put the link for registration there. Or, no, if I put the link for the registration, it's going to force you to pay. I want to give a discount to all the people in this call, right now. So if you are able to do a direct, so during this retreat, we are going to do 4 specific things. One is look at the mental processes and the things that have brought you where you are. We're going to start with some kind of baseline diagnostics of your previous year. Okay, what worked, what didn't work, and then we're going to look at going forward this year, because if you don't make it happen, it's not going to happen. Okay, I know we're very, very religious in Africa and all that, but I think some of those religious beliefs are also, creating trouble, for us. And part of it is you pray, but prayer is not the entire step. You pray, but you still need to know what to do and then to go ahead to do it. We're going to look at mission critical activities in your business, because you want to focus on the things that are profit producing. If it is just 3 to 5 things, we're going to uncover those 3 to 5 things, and those are the things you're going to be focusing on in your business. Mission critical activities, only activities that are aligned to where you are going. So what I'm going to do is, I'm not sure how I'm going to do that, but because I want to give you a discount for the people on this call. If you're going to make it direct, if you go to the link, which is here, it's going to force you to pay the 60,000 naira. But I want to give you a discount of 10,000 naira if you're on this call, and then you're able to make payment in the next 1 hour. Let me find the account details, and then you can make that so that you can join us. I'm promising you that our time on Saturday is going to be a very, very important inspiration, for the rest of your year. So please don't miss it. So copy that number, and then in the next 1 hour, we'll open up that for your payment. You can do 50,000 instead of 60, and you will receive the joining instructions by tomorrow evening. And then with that said, when you've copied that, I want to thank all of you for spending this dinner with me and having this sumptuous dinner. And I hope that as the world progresses this year, we'll be able to actually do this physically. This is what I do, and I enjoy doing it, and this is my calling, that we'll be able to do this physically in restaurants and then have our time together. And I hope to see hopefully all of you on Saturday morning. It is virtual, it's by Zoom, and it's going to be from 9 o'clock to 1 p.m. And for those of you who run big businesses and then you are doing your retreat at this time, I'm very, very happy, to extend our culture, strategy and cultural retreat, to help you to define your direction for this year. So I want to thank you all very, very much for our dinner chat today, and I hope that has been very helpful to you. If there is one thing that you actually gained today that's a top insight for you, please could you put it in the chat just before we go? Okay, the recording will be available. We will send it. How are we going to do this? How are we going to be able to? Okay, there's going to be, we're going to put it on YouTube. Okay, so we'll put it on YouTube. And so you go to my channel and subscribe. There's my channel name is Ogbo Awoke Ogbo. And I run a WhatsApp TV every day. So for some of you who don't have my WhatsApp number, this is it over here. So let me put it in the chat. So that's +234 803 488. So often everything that is happening around me and the programs I'm running, they are always up on WhatsApp. So we're going to put this on YouTube. Otherwise, I was going to ask for email. You know, we're going to put their email addresses and then we'll just email the link. But you can check YouTube in another 24 to 48 hours and then it will be up there. How was today useful to you? Please, can you just put something? What did you learn? What are you taking out of today? You know, just to help us to refine when we're going to have another dinner. Okay, so the destination, not the plane. All right. Okay, just take 1 more minute, everybody, and do that. Just let me know what was useful for you today. What did you find useful that we should do more of? We'll round this off in another 1 minute. It's exactly 1 minute. Okay. Patience, yes, in the business, very important. Yes, patience. Patience is part of the strategy. Okay. Right. Sell the destination, not the plane. Okay, it's a good one. Okay, a few more. Okay, looking out for insights, you know, from customers. Great. Okay, the need to creating a culturally balanced product. Very, very good. Okay, awesome. Okay, get my ideal customer persona. All right. Okay. Okay, thank you very much. I'm not going to hold you. Some of you are moms and you need to prepare meals for your family if it's not already. Okay, the VCP model. I know that why people go for shopping. Awesome. All right. So you all have a very, very good night. And when it's time for another dinner, I would all let you know. So thank you very much. And you all have a very good evening.